I have a pretty good life. I'm healthy, good friends, a cool dog, and I have a cyber quad, so I have that going for me. But even with all that, I'm just like everyone else. Sometimes I'll kick back and I'll read a Wired magazine. Other times I'll read a Car and Driver, and if I'm up for it, I'll sit back, read the Boston Globe, or I'll throw on an old Joe Rogan podcast. I'm just like the next guy, always hunting for a good deal on something. Grocery shopping? Checks? Who can afford that? Corn biscuits it is. Reese's Puffs? How about some good old PB&C? Lucky Charms? Maybe on your salary, how about some Magic Stars? And I make sure to get the Frosted Flakes from the bottom shelf. And to wash that all down, we're gonna get the bananas that someone sat on for 50 cents. So life's good, but I do have a job where if I don't perform, then I can't put food on the table. My mom still doesn't think I have a real job because I don't have 1 million subscribers yet, but hopefully you can help me with that by hitting the subscribe button now. And if I can't put food on the table, my kids will have a new white dad in no time. But besides living in constant fear, life's still pretty good. Now, some months, of course, are better than others, and to make up for that, I got myself a side hustle. And this side hustle actually pays me more than I make on YouTube. What's that side hustle, you ask? Well, here's where it gets weird. This is an eggplant.
That's a penis.
Well, no, but yes. And this eggplant, they're seeds. But this is a magic eggplant where the seeds grow into children. Now, I take this magic eggplant to a place where you can sell eggplant seeds for money, which sounds weird when you think about it, but I try not to. But I get paid, and after a few months, I bought my truck. Well, today I got some news. I walked down the same hallway I always walk down with my seed coach, and he made me sit in the OR in scrubs, which was very odd. I still can't figure that out. And he gave me the news that I can't donate anymore. What am I going to do? How am I going to put food on the table? I have to sell my i8, the RS7, the Brodozer, my electric pod racer. I don't understand why this is happening. He said, let me draw you a picture. I said, this is not the time for Pictionary, Doc. He said, no. Let me break it down for you. You see this? This is a seed that you give us. No! I said, Doc, I don't get it. He said, your number's 30, Richard. 30 mothers have bore your children, and 30 is the limit for this geographic area. We put a geographic restriction on birth fathers because after too many births, things start getting kind of weird. Then I paused for 15 minutes, and I imagined a world with more than 30 of my children in it. And then he asked me to leave because they were closing, but I knew my new mission. Right after I took all the free pillows, socks, hand sanitizer, scrubs, pens, dry erase markers, and tape, I jumped in the i8 and left the country. The mission? To spread my seed internationally. I went to my hotel room to throw on Netflix to watch some Chappelle IT Crowd in Portlandia, and they were all shut down due to the similar geographic restrictions that prevented me from spreading my seed in the US. But then I remembered I have Surfshark. I may do things without protection, but my web browsing is not one of them. VPNs are an essential to protect you and your data as it routes your device's internet connection through a private server, and you can watch your favorite things anywhere. Surfshark is so confident that you'll like this protection that there's a 30-day money-back guarantee policy. Because they like Uncle Rich and his mission so much, they're offering a sizable discount and a free 3-month trial with promo code RichRebuilds. Thank you, Surfshark, for the hookup and for sponsoring this episode. So this episode in the electric Mini Cooper build is about battery selection and where we're at with the project. I bought this Mini Cooper for $1,500 off Facebook Marketplace, and I'm making it electric. What I'm hoping for is under $5,000. Yes, including the batteries. Now, in the last episode, my assistant Linda ran off into the sunset, so next episode, I'll be paying her a visit at her home. Yes, that's right, I'll be going to Linda's house next episode. Now, this episode, we're also going to learn more about the pitfalls of doing your own EV conversion and troubleshooting some of the problems I'm running into. Let's take a look. All right, last we left off, I had a whole bunch of boxes here doing absolutely nothing, but now the boxes are actually doing something now. So what I've been doing is using a lot of the old wiring that I have from that engine harness that I showed you guys, but I'm using the recycled wiring for the Zilla controller. So a lot of this is just really basic stuff. This is the chassis ground. This is what you ground it to the rest of the vehicle. That's the positive 14 volts in. This is the key input, start input, main contactor coil. These two wires, what the pod is, that's a potentiometer, and that's what controls the throttle of the vehicle. So it's pretty much like a variable resistor. When you step on the throttle more, the resistance changes and it adds more current going through the motor. So this is pretty much all set up. All I have to do now is do some mounting, and then some more testing, and then we're good to go in the front.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, your crotch was really close to that.
Oh, sorry about that. My apologies.
It's all wired up too.
My apologies, sir.
It's a good way to meet God.
Yeah, I know, right? I heard he's nice.
You could die.
Yeah.
You could become a ghost and float above the globe.
Yes. Looking down.
Looking down on the earth. Like, oh no.
There was so much more I wanted to do.
Here I am. Wow, this purgatory sucks.
What we need to do now is this little cavity right here, which kind of sucks that I want to put some more things down here, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that. The batteries are going to go on top of here, so I'm going to likely lose this bottom space. I was considering leaving the battery in here, but that wouldn't make much sense because you would never be able to access the battery because there'd be hundreds of pounds of traction batteries on top of it.
Oh, the 12 volt's dead. Too bad.
Yeah, it's like, well, the car's dead, so there, rest in peace. So I might just take this out. I'm not really sure what I could put under here that doesn't need to be accessed frequently or at all. Maybe some excess wiring, wiring slack could be tucked down here, but after this is pulled out, I have to relocate the battery to probably the front of the vehicle. This is just the ground strap, and this right here is the, I think this is, what is this, actually? I don't know where this goes. Oh, that just goes to the front of the car. There's a back one too. I don't know where this goes. I'm not really sure. I think this wire goes to maybe the front fuse box. And there's two fuse boxes, one under the hood and one in the lower left kick panel. But that's the goal, taking this out, moving the battery further up, and then I have to start the process of putting down the subfloor, securing that, and putting the first traction battery on top. But before I do that, I have to tear off this side panel because remember, we didn't talk about charging yet, the charging infrastructure for the car. So I want to be cute and sexy like all the other EV people do. What they do is they take the gas cap off and they remove the filler neck and they put the charging cable right here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to raise the car up, take off this wheel, put in the electronics for the charger. I'm going to secure that in place. And then on the other side, I'm going to start the process of drilling the hole, pulling the wire through. Yeah, going to town. So we'll see what happens.
I'll just cut along this line.
Yeah.
Just go straight up.
Right up.
You got safety goggles?
Safety What do you think this is?
Richard, I don't want to lose my eyes. Jeez.
All right.
I only got two of them. I care about
Yeah,
them.
exactly. You have two. So if you lose one, you still have the other one. I mean, your depth perception will be way off.
Yeah, I don't want to be a pirate.
But, you
Not
know,
right now.
pirates are pretty cool.
Not like this.
We'll just slice that bad girl open
Yes.
on both sides. And we still have this. This is the same blade we've been using for...
Since the Cyberquad.
Yeah, seriously.
Actually, since the rat... This has been since the
Since the rat rod. Yeah, since the early 1940s.
We're going to see how big the space we've got. So we're about 36 inches. And once we pull these plastic pieces
Whoa,
off-
just like that.
Yeah, look at that. That's amazing, isn't it?
Oh my God, how strong are you, Steven?
Movie magic. We already
My
unboxed.
God.
It's amazing. So, what we'll do is we'll end up doctoring that so we can accommodate more space.
A lot of people were asking why battery packs weren't put under the hood, and honestly, it's better to have them honestly all in one place. It's a lot easier to manage two batteries that are stacked up in the back as opposed to one back here and one in the front, which it wouldn't even fit.
We've got 3 feet by 15 inches of a void in the back behind this. So when we close this, we still want to be able to have 4 passengers. But
Exactly.
there's actually a considerable amount of space.
Very considerable.
2 feet. All right, Richard, it's battery day.
Battery day, baby. Let's do this. So these are the various battery options that people have when you're doing a conversion. These are only a small percentage of the batteries that you can use for a conversion, but these are the only ones that I could afford in my presence. So these are the ones I'm going to talk to you about. So right here, this is an interesting battery. This is the battery that was from the original Cyberquad build. This is from a Zero motorcycle. And this is one of the weird parts getting salvage battery packs because this is the one that fell off the truck. Remember that? Yeah. And this is the banged up one that fell off, literally off a pallet. And unfortunately, this one wasn't usable at the time because it just gave me issues with the contactors on the inside. But one of the reasons why I like this battery because of the form factor, I think these batteries are better for power sports, more like side-by-sides and ATVs and things like that, because this case is already pretty water resistant. It's nice and sealed because this was meant to go in a motorcycle originally, which does see some water when you're riding in the rain. So this is a better battery pack to use if you're using, again, power sports kind of thing. It's really well sealed and it's very compact. Not only that, but this is quite expensive and it's not easy to replace. Like for example, if I wanted to buy one of these battery bricks, Zero wouldn't sell it to me. So I'm not gonna use this as a potential. Yeah, I'm not gonna use this at all. So this is gonna wheel this one out of the way. These here, these are cow batteries. These are interesting too because these are only about like 3.5 volts or so, and they're very heavy. And I would need a lot of these friggin' batteries to make up the voltage deficit that I would have to make that motor spin. For example, the Warp 9 that's used in the Mini Cooper right now, that's going to run at about, I think the maximum voltage is about maybe 160, 170 or so. So just imagine I would need a metric, S load, as they say, of these to get it to have any power. And they're heavy. Really not the ideal batteries to use. Next, what I want to talk about are the lead acid batteries. No one cares about lead acid batteries, and these are the batteries that you used to use maybe like 20 years ago or so, but these things are so outdated, it's not even funny. These are the most popular batteries that are used for the 12-volt systems in most cars today. Most cars have lead acid batteries, when they're ready to start for a high cold cranking amps and a high charge and discharge rate. So they still use these for cars for their low voltage system, but anything that's high voltage, they're going to use lithium ion batteries for that. But no one wants these clunky things. These are 12 volts each, so you get like 12 volts out of 50 pounds. So what that means is I would need, 13, 14 of these things just to actually turn the Warp 9. And then these are the Nissan Leaf cells. So these are really good cells because they're very easy to stack. I actually like these. These are about 7 volts each. They're really easy to stack. And what people do normally is to mount these, they'll get a rod and they'll thread the rod right down these holes right here, and you could stack like a whole bunch of them at their side. So these are, I admit, these are pretty good to use. A bit on the heavy side, and then we have to take some measurements in the back of the Mini Cooper. So this really could be a decent option. The prices of these have dropped significantly. So configuring these in the Mini, setting up the bus bars on all of them, that's going to add to the time. So, if we want like a decent thing, if you guys want to actually see me finish this project this year, I'm probably going to stay away from these for now. And this is the infamous Tesla battery module. Let's take the cover off so you can see what it looks like on the inside. I'm going to use this.
Where's your butter knife, Richard?
I don't have that anymore. I've moved on since then. Steven.
And 18,000 people unsubscribed.
Yes. There you go.
Here we go. The beloved 18650s.
This is the Big Daddy diesel one. This is the diesel truck of batteries right here.
Yeah.
Super reliable, great energy density. The only thing is that these are monstrously expensive. That's the problem. So this battery, you're looking at anywhere from like, I would say $1,000 to like maybe $1,300, sometimes even $1,400 for these batteries. These things, for some reason, they still sell for tons of money all these years later.
For those that are keeping count, this battery pack alone costs what that entire car is.
Seriously, yeah. No, really, yeah. So I can either have one Tesla module or the car. And the reason why these are so good, something that none of the other batteries have, is cooling. So there's integrated cooling in here. So you have a coolant pump, and you can run coolant through the batteries to keep the battery cool. And this, you're looking at, this is about 24 volts. The least expensive way you're going to get enough voltage to spin that motor, you're going to need quite a few of these as well, and that makes things way over budget. So you figure, they're 24 volts each. You're looking at, $4,000 just to get 100 volts. You know what I mean? So that, and if you want 2 more, 150, yeah, you're looking at $6,000, in some cases $7,000 just in batteries. And that's minimum. If you want to run things in parallel to get more amperage, it's going to get even crazier. So what I would do, I'm probably not going to go with this one either, again, to keep the cost low. But I will show you what battery I did choose. 2 of those and we're over budget. Yeah, seriously, 2 of these are over budget. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, put that in first. Then you do it. Yeah, spit on it. And right here, this is the battery I chose to go with. The good old Chevy Volt. Now, the reason why I like this battery is because of the form factor. This actually forms the T, the cross T, in a Chevy Volt battery pack. This makes it a lot easier to mount into the Mini, because look at this module itself. Measuring this right here, it actually fits perfectly in the back of the Mini Cooper. I actually purchased 2 of these, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna stack them on top of each other. I got a really good deal on them. I went to a website, I think it was batteryhookup.com. Battery Hookup had 2 of these left for super cheap. I think I paid, $500 a piece for these, which is an absolute steal. And I think we're gonna go with these. The good thing too is that the reason why I wanted these over the Nissan Leaf ones is because they actually already included the pigtails for the BMS. So the BMS is the battery management system. All the connectors are already right here. I just plug the connectors in and I wire the ends to the BMS. And this makes things 10 times easier to configure. The only thing we haven't factored in yet is the charging infrastructure. And if we want to get this down to a decent price point, we have to make room for the charger. The onboard charger could get expensive, and also the cabling that goes from the charger to the batteries and other things like that. So there's still quite a bit more to factor in here, but I think right now we're about, I want to say a little under $4,000, maybe $3,500, $3,600, which is,
Yes.
we have some breathing room. And let's check out the back of the car. There's one. It's a shame, man. I almost want to put one battery in it and call it a day, you know. But you know, if you want this thing to go anywhere,
I was to say 14 kilowatts is a 25-mile range.
yeah, it's like yeah, this would be nothing. This would be literally like a commuter that you drive from one place to the other. But
that can't be used in the winter.
Right, definitely not, definitely not. And then yeah, that's the first stage. So
this is the shell of the
yeah, that's the
volt
top cover
pack.
of the volt pack. Yeah, right.
Here's our secondary one. What it'll look like when it lined up. That's the height of the 2 batteries that'll just fit nicely.
Yeah, that's back there.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Wow.
I mean, you can at least see it's not too much dip on your chip.
Right.
That's the important thing.
Right. Okay, so that's out. Now to reroute the wiring and run it elsewhere so it's not stuck under the traction battery pack. What I have to do now is I have to remove this filler neck. Before I do that, I have to take off this wheel, remove the inner fender trim to put the charge port there. All right, so I have the fender off, and that is the filler neck right there. So I want to take that out. I'm going to remove that bolt that's in there and remove the rest of that tube. And after that, I'm going to drill a hole approximately right here that will go into the rear trunk, and that's going to take care of the charging cable. Ta-da! This is the pan that the battery was originally on top of, and I painted it that same color that Steven picked out for the motor, so it looks kind of good. Unfortunately, no one will ever see this part because there'll be a large battery on top of it, but this is all part of recycling because I'm using the same metal pan that was inside of the Chevy Volt. So all I did was cut around it a little bit. The battery pack's gonna sit on top of that, and why this is important because it already has the grooves in it for the battery to sit down into, and then it can be bolted into the front. So this is the easiest way to get this into the back of the Mini Cooper. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put this pan in the back, secure this pan to the floor, and then put the battery on top of this. The battery floor pan is in, doesn't look pretty, but it's definitely in there like swimwear. Now, what I had to do is I had to drill 2 additional holes outside of the car to make sure that the high voltage wires could come through. I got a little aggressive on this, and I actually cut through the 12 volt battery cable, but that's all right. I'll be removing that. That's part of the cable that was back here that I'll be running to the front anyways, along with the cable that runs along the side. So remember, this is very jagged, and because of all the movement with the car, I want to make sure that I put a good piece of conduit in there. So I might get some of the same conduit that I used when I went to Home Depot, put it in that tube to make sure the wires don't chafe. So that's really it. Once these 2 wires come up through here, I'll be connecting it to the battery, and also before that, I want to make sure I screw down this plate and make sure this plate doesn't move, because this is a integral part of having the battery here, because if anything happens, you don't want the battery flopping around too much. So I'm going to drill some holes and make sure this plate is secured to the bottom of the car. Okay, so the back is coming together very nicely. What I have to do is I have to put some more bolts on this side. I'm probably gonna put maybe 2 more up there, 2 more up here, 1 at the bottom, and then 1 in the middle to make sure this pan is secured down, because this is the pan that's gonna secure the battery pack. That's the battery pack right there. I'll be putting this on top, and it's gonna fit into these grooves, almost like a standard car battery in a lot of ways. A lot of the batteries that you see on the market, there's a groove that they fit in. And then what I could do is I could actually bolt the battery down so it's nice and secure back here. The other thing I want to look at is I want to look at the charge port that I finished. That's looking pretty nice. That's nice and secure. And the wire is running right under there and going into the passenger cabin. So then what I want to talk about now is another part that I need is the DC to DC converter. And the DC to DC converter is the equivalent of an alternator in a car. You know what an alternator, it uses the motion of the engine and the engine pulleys to charge the battery in the vehicle. And that's how the 12-volt battery in an internal combustion engine car stays charged. The DC to DC converter is a little bit different because it actually takes the power from the high voltage battery, kind of dumbs it down to the 12 volts or 14 volts to keep the 12-volt battery charged. This is what this does. This has a direct connection, again, to the high voltage battery, and it converts that into a lower voltage to keep the 12-volt battery charged. And I'm probably gonna end up putting this somewhere at the side. I am probably not gonna use this one. I'm not really sure if it works or not. I have to test it, but that's gonna go in here. So before I install the high voltage battery right here and I lose a whole bunch of space, I'll be putting the DC to DC converter in that corner and then running the wiring to the front. Now let's go to the front of the car and talk about a couple of things up there. Okay, now this is the front of the car I don't really want to talk about. Now, in the first part of this episode, I was talking about the wiring for the Zilla controller, and unfortunately that wiring I had did not work, so I changed the setup a bit. I have a new pot box and a new contactor in here. And this pot box is a little bit different because this is a very simple 2-wire setup as opposed to the 6-wire setups I've been using before. These are two Tesla, AKA Ford Motor Company accelerator pedals. These are the 5-wire setups. I went to a very basic 2-wire setup. And again, I have a contactor here too that's different from the first one. Now, the reason why I like the 2-wire setup is because A, it's a lot easier, and B, this pot box is pretty much a very simple lever that you attach to your existing accelerator pedal. So you have your accelerator pedal. When you push your pedal down, you attach almost like a string to this, well, not a string, but a coil to this, and it actually pulls in unison. So when you step down, it pulls this down as well. And that's what controls the acceleration of the vehicle. Now, the wiring here I have set up, again, very simple. The chassis ground, 14 volt in, key inputs, start, main contactor, coil that goes to the contactor that tells it when to pre-charge and turn on. And I also have the potentiometer plus and minus, which is the pot box plus and minus here. Now, for some reason with the old setup, it wasn't working. Whenever I turned it on, energized the system, I would get a red error light. Wasn't sure what it was. I hooked up to the diagnostics, which thankfully Zilla does have diagnostics I could read from my laptop, but for still, it wasn't working. And one of the things you have to know that when you get used equipment from someone, they may have a setting in there that prevents you from doing the things that you want to do. For example, now this battery pack, unbeknownst to you, they might have a setting in the Zilla controller, they modified themselves to make it so that you will not get any acceleration if the voltage in the battery pack drops below a certain amount. You know, you could have a person using a low voltage system, not really low voltage, but a lower voltage system, like something around like 50 or 60 volts or so, and their minimum threshold could be 40. In a lot of cases, if you drop below that threshold, if you're using a 30 volt system, a lot of the cases, again, the settings won't work. So what you have to do is when you get used equipment, you have to go into the settings, and if you can, reset all the settings so you don't run into issues later on. So that's one thing that I definitely learned about that. But for some reason, this setup is not working either. But again, I'm just gonna show you a real quick tutorial on how I go in and kind of troubleshoot and diagnose minor things. All right, so now I have it all hooked up now, and I'm in PuTTY, and I wanna just kind of look for something, but it says state is 1311. If I remember correctly, 1311 means waiting for key, according to the error codes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna energize the system. I'm gonna connect those two terminals, the key and the start, to the positive lead on the 12 volt battery. I'm gonna see if it gives a different error message. But honestly, what we're gonna hear right now is we're gonna hear the contactor click, and you're going to see it pre-charge, and then it's going to go from the amber light to the main contactor on light. So let me see if that actually does anything. I can do this without dying. Again, don't do this at home. You hear that? One more time. So it's off, on, pre-charge, and the contactor clicks. So right now, energy is actually flowing through the system at the moment. So let me just see if it gives a different error message on the screen. All right, so the state is 1214. 1214 is open pot wire. Huh. So that's a potentiometer wire that's apparently open. Not really sure why that is, but let's figure that out. All right, so I just tightened down all the connections and everything seems pretty tight for the pot wires. Once I did that, I'm still getting the same error message, the 1214. So I don't really know why it's saying that. It's probably my own ignorance, but then again, it could be, again, one of the disadvantages to getting used equipment. You just don't know what you're gonna get. But again, not blaming anyone. It's likely my fault. As you can see, this isn't a very professional operation, but rest assured, everything's pretty tight here. You know, granted, I'm not my boys over at Stealth EV. They run a pretty clean shop. So speaking of that, check them out. Really awesome guys. Good friend of mine. Check them out. Stealth EV, located in California, and they could take care of a lot of your really cool custom non-janky EV stuff like I'm doing here. But again, check out their website. That's in the description box below. But yeah, I'll be still here figuring this out. It's saying it's an open pot wire. Don't know what that means. But again, this is one of the things where this is what goes into the back end of troubleshooting EV stuff. You just don't know really what you're gonna get. And anything's up in the air, anything's up for grabs. But I'll be here plugging away at this. I'll let you guys know when I figure it out. But the behavior is as follows. You plug it in, contactor closes, pre-charges, and I get the error message stating that there's an open pot wire. When I move that, nothing seems to be working. So whatever, I'm sure I'll figure it out. Not a big deal. And I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check me on Instagram at RichieBKid. And I'll see you guys in a bit. Wait a second. Wait. No credits yet. Don't end the credits yet. I just looked at something really quick and I screwed up right here. Look at this. Look at this. Those aren't fully pushed in. Let's push those in fully. What a dumbass I am. Look at that. Look at that, huh? All right. One more time. One more time, baby. Nice. There she is. That's it. No error messages. Main contactor's on. We're cooking with gas, baby. All right. Feeling good about this. Finally, some good news. Either way, Jesus Christ. This is like down to the last minute. Yeah, I think we're good here. We're cooking with gas, so I'm excited to show you the next update for this thing. No errors. This thing's ready to fly. And I'll see you guys next week.